I'm Shelagh Leahy. I'm a family physician in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia since 1976, except for 2 years. When I turned 50, I took a year off and traveled around Australia, and when I turned 60, I traveled around the world because I wanted to recharge my batteries and come back re-energized to be a family doctor again. When we start our practice, we often don't recognize that there are some advisors that we need to hire to help us to get off on the right foot in the business of our practice. And there are 5 that I can think of that can really save us from making mistakes, and they can save us money. We need to know a banker that we trust, a lawyer, an accountant, and a person who has expertise in insurance, and a financial planner. And people think, why? Why do we need these extra expensive folks? Well, because they're going to save us money, and they're going to save us from making really big boo-boos in our future life planning. Why do we need these 5 talents? Well, we need a banker because we probably are coming into our practice carrying a specific amount of debt from our education, and we need to have more money to set up our life and our practice. And we have to have a relationship with the banker who understands the reason we are carrying that debt and can help us to do our next borrowing in a really efficient way. We need to have a financial planner who can help us to put the money in the right place and borrow money that is tax deductible rather than something we cannot deduct. We need to have an insurance person because once we have assets like a car and a home and a practice, these have to be insured. And we have liabilities that could incur in our practice space, and we need to be insured against that as well. We need to have a lawyer. We are going to likely rent things, perhaps our rental space, and we need to make sure that all of the contracts that we sign have been vetted by a lawyer to make sure that there's no problems getting into difficult situations from which we can't be extracted. And finally, we need an accountant. We shouldn't even think about setting up a billing system without having an accountant to say, you need to record your income and your outgo in such a way that I can track it and prepare your income tax returns for you. Lots of physicians think, I'll do that all myself. But always think, are you willing to pay $150 an hour for that expertise? And if you think you can get it for less, you might want to hire a specialist rather than yourself. The one more professional you may want to consider using when you're setting up your practice is a leasing broker. This is a person who can do some of the legwork for you. They can get out there and see where the available rental space is. They can get the best price for you by negotiation. They can often negotiate as well leasehold improvements and ensure that you have the things that you need for parking and security and privacy. And they save you a lot of work because they already know the lay of the land. They are paid a price or a percentage usually of the first few months' rent, but they can save you a lot of money over perhaps a 5 or 10-year lease that you have on that space. Let's think about who we need. We need a lawyer to do many of the things that are part of our establishment of our practice. Most of the time we'll be looking at purchasing a house, and that needs to be handled by a lawyer. We need to think about, are we going to incorporate our practice? And there's a huge component that the lawyer has to do to make sure that all the rules are followed. We have to think about, I'm going to borrow a lot of money. How can I make sure that when I borrow money that the forms that I sign are correct and are not entrapping me? And a lawyer can look those over and give me a really good idea about, are they safe to sign? We think about, are we going to develop a will? Because we now have debts and we have assets, and we have to think that bad things can happen to us, just like our patients, and there has to be a proper disposal of those things through the method of having a will. And then if we have family, we have assets, we have insurance. If something happens to us, that money has to be distributed in a way, and so we need to have perhaps a family trust. We're going to be making money through incorporation. That money has to be distributed in a proper way. So we need experts to guide us. We don't try to treat all the illnesses we see in our practice. We bring in specialists to help us, and we need to do the same thing with a lawyer. A very valuable expert to have as part of your team to set up your practice is an accountant. First and foremost, he can talk to you about how to set up your books where you record the income and outgo that is part of your business. He may, if you wish, even perform things like bookkeeping services, or may have staff who do that for a lesser fee than your own staff could do. Or you may not wish your staff to have information that is private regarding that money. He can do an overview or financial analysis of your expenditures and sometimes give you some tips about how to do things a little more wisely. He can be the interface for you between yourself and Revenue Canada, because there's a huge piece of completing your corporate tax returns and your personal tax returns, if you wish, that he can do much more efficiently than you. And usually, if he has a good reputation, your audit risk decreases substantially. So I have found my accountant to be worth his weight in gold in terms of the money he saves me and the worry he saves me. A financial consultant is an expert that some of us don't think we need right at the beginning, because all we have is debts and no investments. And really, that's when you should start off with a consultant, somebody who can guide you along the path from indebtedness to hopefully having some assets. They are paid in a variety of ways, and so you have to research that and decide, do you want somebody from a large national organization like the CMA? Do you want to hire somebody on an hourly basis for short term? Do you want to hire somebody who will be paid through a percentage of your investment? So those are decisions you make at the beginning. And then what will they do for me? Well, they're my quarterback of my financial life. So they're going to look at what is the debt that I have, what kind of money am I earning, how is that money coming to me, and how am I spending it? And they're going to help me to make some decisions that are more cost effective and more tax effective. So they can talk to me about where am I in my practice life, where am I in my personal life, what's important to me in the future, and how can I get there financially. It's amazing sometimes the personal detail that they will ask you, but it's because they have to know you as a person and what is important to you before they can quarterback you to the right goal in the end. I suspect since the day you started going to university, you knew a banker. But a banker, when you are a graduate physician, becomes a really important person in your life. You are coming to that banker with a medical degree, which is a very valuable asset, but that's not enough. You have to also have a credit rating. You have to have a history of having a good character. And you have to show him or her that you are going to earn money. Then he's interested in loaning you more. And if you don't have good character, or if you have a lousy credit rating, or you have no prospects of making an income, he's not going to give you top-notch interest rates. And we need to continue to borrow money well into our practice life. We need to borrow money for our car, our practice equipment, often to purchase a home. And we need to have a number of different accounts. We need savings accounts for our various quarterly installments and our RRSPs. We need to have business banking accounts, personal banking accounts. So huge number of interactions with our banker. And it needs to get off on a good footing and be a trustworthy relationship throughout for it to be valuable for us. Over the course of a practice and setting up a practice, we have to think about a number of different insurance advisors. We're all familiar with our professional Canadian Medical Protective Association assurance against medical acts. But when we have a practice, we also have personal liability, people walking into our space who fall and slip or what have you. So we need insurance regarding that. We need to think about what happens if we get sick. We're not covered by workman's compensation, so we need to think about disability insurance. And when you think that 30% of physicians at some point will be disabled for longer than 90 days, you need to have some income. And unless you've saved it all up diligently, you need insurance to pay you that income. You need to think about the insurance that comes with owning a personal dwelling, whether you rent or you own. If that burns down or becomes a place that you can't live, you need to have replacement. You have a car that needs to be insured. You may have assets or professional equipment. If you're an ophthalmologist, you could have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that need to be insured. So an insurance agent or more than one are very important people for you to come to know. To find the professionals that you want to work with, you really have to take a few steps that are not casual. They must be well thought out. You shouldn't just hire the first person that offers their services. You might want to think twice before hiring family members or in just working with them casually. Instead, think about getting some word of mouth from colleagues that you're working with, see what their experiences have been, get a few names. You may want to look at people who have professional designations, because as professionals, they are managed by colleges which expect certain standards for their care, and also will address concerns if you have a bad relationship with your professional lawyer or financial advisor. And then you have to see if the chemistry works. Can you work with this person? Do you get along with that person? Do you communicate effectively? And is the person amenable to meeting with you at times that maybe not banker friendly, but are doctor friendly? So will they come to your office? Will they take a phone call in the evening or on the weekend? Because these are people who are going to make money from providing you with services, and hopefully they will be flexible in their ability to serve you at a time that really works well for you while you're making money. It's probably not the great time to be meeting with your banker.